Hi friends, we have come to another session of 12 sets of 9 WH questions. You might be wondering why this guy keeps adding videos after videos on these 12 sets. My friend, it is nothing but for you to get practice, get a hold of that language and use it in the right way. There are many students who don't even know how to frame WH questions. They don't even know that there are existing 9 WH questions. Most of them think that it is only 4 or 5. But they don't know who's, which, whom and all these things. And if they get all these things, they don't know how to frame them with what kind of sentence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a sentence on the board, and based upon that sentence we are going to frame these WH questions. Now the sentence is, first we are going to take a verb. What is that verb? Trouble. Okay. Now we are just going to add a subject. This is the verb, this is the subject, he. If we have taken he, then we need to add an S over here. He troubles what, who, where, when, whom. He troubles people. So we've got a sentence over here within no minute. Here subject plus verb plus object. So it has become a simple present tense. So what we are going to do is, first we are going to frame those sentences in the simple present, and then we are going to change them into different tenses. In the 12 tenses we are going to frame them. Okay, first let me write them on the board for you. First one. Now based upon this sentence, how do we ask a question? What does he do? What does he do? What will be the answer? It will be the same thing. He troubles people. Okay, now we are going to take the second one. Where? Where does he trouble people? Where does he trouble people? He troubles people everywhere. He troubles people everywhere. So what does it tell us? He troubles people everywhere. It tells us that it is his nature, or we can also say it is his hobby, a sadist hobby. Okay. Third one. When does he trouble people? Question mark, answer. When does he trouble people? The answer is, he troubles people at all times. Fourth one. Why does he trouble people? Now answer to that. He troubles people because he is a sadist. Okay. 5. Who troubles people? Who troubles people? Now here we are asking who troubles people. Let us give this person a name. Say Shyam Sundar troubles people. Okay, now let's go to the sixth one. Whose people does he trouble? Answer to that: he troubles his own people. Okay, now let's go to the seventh one. With whom does he trouble people? He troubles people with his friends. Eighth one. Which people does he trouble? He troubles the young and old. Ninth one. How does he trouble people? Question mark. Answer to that: he troubles people both verbally and physically. Okay, here we go. We have framed a set. Using this sentence, based upon this sentence, we have asked certain questions and we have answered according to these questions. Now what we need to do is we need to change them into the remaining 11 sets. Okay, when we do that, what will happen? We are going to improve our vocabulary, we are going to improve our pronunciation of words, we are going to improve our neutral accent, and above all, we are going to improve our fluency. That I'm 100% sure that you will definitely learn fluency in English. You will get a lot of confidence to ask WH questions. You will get a lot of confidence to answer to any person asking you WH questions. Okay, I guarantee you that confidence. So let's start now. What does he do? He troubles people. Where does he trouble people? He troubles people everywhere. When does he trouble people? He troubles people at all times. Why does he trouble people? He troubles people because he is a sadist. Who troubles people? Shyam Sundar troubles people. Whose people does he trouble? He troubles his own people. With whom does he trouble? He troubles with his friends. Which people does he trouble? He troubles the young and the old. How does he trouble people? He troubles people verbally and physically. Let's go to the second set. What did he do? He troubled people. Where did he trouble people? He troubled people everywhere. When did he trouble people? He troubled people at all times. Why did he trouble people? He troubled people because he was a sadist. Who troubled people? Shyam Sundar troubled people. Whose people did he trouble? He troubled his own people. With whom did he trouble people? He troubled people with his friends. Which people did he trouble? He troubled the young and the old. How did he trouble people? He troubled people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the third set. What will he do? He will trouble people. Where will he trouble people? He will trouble people everywhere. When will he trouble people? He will trouble people at all times. Okay, why will he trouble people? He will trouble people because he is a sadist. Who troubles people? Shyam Sundar troubles. Who will trouble people? Shyam Sundar will trouble people. Whose people will he trouble? He will trouble his own people. With whom will he trouble people? He will trouble people with his friends. Which people will he trouble? He will trouble the young and the old. How will he trouble people? He will trouble people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the fourth set. What is he doing? He is troubling people. Where is he troubling people? He is troubling people everywhere. Okay, when is he troubling people? He is troubling people at all times. Why is he troubling people? He is troubling people because he is a sadist. Who is troubling people? Shyam Sundar is troubling people. Okay, whose people is he troubling? He is troubling his own people. With whom is he troubling people? He is troubling people with his friends. Which people is he troubling? He is troubling the young and the old. How is he troubling people? He is troubling people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the fifth one. What was he doing? He was troubling people. Where was he troubling people? He was troubling people everywhere. When was he troubling people? He was troubling people at all times. Okay, why was he troubling people? He was troubling people because he was a sadist. Who was troubling people? Who was troubling people? Shyam Sundar was troubling people. Whose people was he troubling? He was troubling his own people. With whom was he troubling people? He was troubling people with his friends. Which people was he troubling? He was troubling his own people. How was he troubling people? He was troubling people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the sixth one. What will he be doing? He will be troubling people. Where will he be troubling people? He will be troubling people everywhere. When will he be troubling people? He will be troubling people at all times. Why will he be troubling people? He will be troubling people because he is a sadist. Who will be troubling people? Shyam Sundar will be troubling people. Okay, then we have whose people will he be troubling? He will be troubling his own people. With whom will he be troubling people? He will be troubling people with his friends. Then which people will he be troubling? He will be troubling the young and the old. How will he be troubling people? He will be troubling people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the seventh one. What has he done? He has troubled people. Where has he troubled people? He has troubled people everywhere. When has he troubled people? He has troubled people at all times. Why has he troubled people? He has troubled people because he is a sadist. Who has troubled people? Shyam Sundar has troubled people. Whose people has he troubled? He has troubled his own people. With whom has he troubled people? He has troubled people with his friends. Which people has he troubled? He has troubled both the young and the old. How has he troubled people? He has troubled people both verbally and physically. Now let's go to the eighth one. What had he done? He had troubled people. Where had he troubled people? He had troubled people everywhere. When had he troubled people? He had troubled people at all times. Why had he troubled people? He had troubled people because he was a sadist. Okay, who had troubled people? Shyam Sundar had troubled people. Whose people had he troubled? He had troubled his own people. With whom had he troubled people? He had troubled people with his friends. Which people had he troubled? He had troubled the young and the old. How had he troubled people? He had troubled people both physically and verbally. Let's go to the ninth one. What will he have done? He will have troubled people. Where will he have troubled people? He will have troubled people everywhere. When will he have troubled people? He will have troubled people at all times. Why will he have troubled people? He will have troubled people because he is a sadist. Who will have troubled people? Shyam Sundar will have troubled people. Whose people will he have troubled? he will have troubled his own people. Okay, which people will he have troubled? He will have troubled the young and the old. With whom will he have troubled people? He will have troubled people with his own people, with his friends. How will he have troubled people? He will have troubled people both verbally and physically. Now let's go to the 10th one. What has he been doing? He has been troubling people. Where has he been troubling people? He has been troubling people everywhere. When has he been troubling people? He has been troubling people at all times. Why has he been troubling people? He has been troubling people because he is a sadist. Who has been troubling people? Shyam Sundar has been troubling people. Whose people has he been troubling? He has been troubling his own people. With whom has he been troubling people? He has been troubling people with his friends. Which people has he been troubling? He has been troubling the young and the old. How has he been troubling people? He has been troubling people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the 11th one. What had he been doing? He had been troubling people. Where had he been troubling people? He had been troubling people everywhere. Why had he been troubling people? He had been troubling people because he was a sadist. Who was troubling people? Who had been troubling people? Shyam Sundar had been troubling people. Whose people had he been troubling? He had been troubling his own people. With whom had he been troubling people? He had been troubling people with his friends. Which people had he been troubling? He had been troubling the young and the old. How had he been troubling people? He had been troubling people both verbally and physically. Let's go to the final one. What will he have been doing? He will have been troubling people. Where will he have been troubling people? He will have been troubling people everywhere. Okay, when will he have been troubling people? He will have been troubling people from at all times. Why will he have been troubling people? He will have been troubling people because he is a sadist. Who will have been troubling people? Shyam Sundar will have been troubling people. Whose people will he have been troubling? He will have been troubling his own people. With whom will he have been troubling people? He will have been troubling people with his friends. Which people will he have been troubling? He will have been troubling the young and the old. How will he have been troubling people? He will have been troubling people both verbally and physically. So that ends the 12 sets of 9 WH questions in this video, and we have covered almost all the 9 WH questions based upon this sentence. I told you, the more you practice, the more perfect you are going to become, the more fluency you are going to develop, you are going to increase your vocabulary, you are going to increase your pronunciation and also the neutral accent. So I recommend you to watch as many videos as possible and utilize this opportunity. I wish you happy viewing.